Hello dear students, today we will discuss the subject physics and the chapter is machine. The simple machine. In our daily life, we all use a various type of machines such as wrench, crowbar, pulley, jack, teaspoon, scissor, etc. Even a zip of a pant is also a machine. So we can say that machine is a human-made mechanical device to make our job easier. And if a force is applied at one point, the simple machine transmits it to another point with a convenient change of magnitude and direction. So this is the simple definition of the machine, where what we find that machine is a mechanical device. It is make our life easier. Whenever we applied force, that force is called effort from our end, and the machine transmits it to the point of convenient change and magnitude of the direction. So these are the basic parts of the machine. So before we going through the class, first we have to know about the syllabus of class standard 10. The syllabus is machine as a force multiplier, load, effort, mechanical advantage, velocity ratio and efficiency, simple treatment of levers, pulley systems showing the utility of each type of machine. So this is all about the machine as per our syllabus. Now, whenever we going through the class details, we should have to know about the various type of machine with an example. The normal simple beam balance is also a machine. The seesaw, the children are playing in their garden, is also a machine. The crowbar we use to plug the pin from a wooden bar is also a machine. So these are the example of machines. Now we have to know about the function of simple machine. A machine has the following four types of functions. First, the machine acts as a force multiplier. That means by applying a small effort to lift a large load. In such a case, machine is said to be force multiplier. Jack is one of the examples where we lift a car or truck by applying a small effort. The next function is in changing the force, applying force in changing the point of application of effort to a convenient point. That means applying force at a particular point. Instead of applying a force directly to the wheels of the bicycle, it is easier and more convenient to apply it to the pedal. So bicycle is the example to applying force in the pedal is the example of such function, applying force at a convenient point. The third function is in changing the direction of efforts to convenient direction. That is most important, applying force in a convenient direction. By using pulley, what we do? We lift a bucket of water from a well. So it is difficult to lift a bucket of water directly, but the task becomes very easy if the force is applied in downwards direction using the pulley. So this is the third function of machine. And the fourth function of the machine, by obtaining a gain in the speed, that is a greater movement of the load by a smaller movement of the efforts. To change the speed of the motion of a body, in such a case, the machine is act as a speed multiplier. Gear in an automobile used to change the speed of the automobile. So gear is the example of that function of the machine. So what we find that machine have four type of special character or four type of functions. And what is these functions actually? The functions are: machine act as a force multiplier, machine act as a speed multiplier, machine applied in a particular direction, the force applied in a particular direction, and also particular point for convenience. So these are the four type of function of a machine. If we include all four function of the machine, then we will define the machine elaborately. What the sir actually wants to know the answer. In that case, we will explain the definition. The definition of machine is that the machine is a human-made device by which we can either overcome a large resistive force, that is load, at some point by applying a small force, that is effort, at a convenient point and in a desired direction, or by which we can obtain a gain in speed. So machine is a device by which we can either overcome a large resistive force at some point of applying a small force, or at a convenient point and in a desired direction, by which we can obtain a gain in speed. That means machine act as a force multiplier, machine act as a speed multiplier. So these are the functions, and by using these functions we define the machine elaborately. Now let us go through some terminology, that is the technical term related to the machine. First, we have to know about the load. What is load? A load is a resistive force to overcome by a machine is called load. A resistive or opposing force to overcome by a machine is called load. In SI unit, the unit of load is Newton. Similarly, the effort. Effort is an external force applied to a machine to overcome a load. External force which we apply in pedal to overcome, that means to run the cycle. The cycle carries a lot of weights through its carrier handle, including we are on the cycle. So effort is a force applied on the machine to overcome the load is called effort. By using these two terms, load and efforts, we define a special quantity, and that quantity is called mechanical advantage. So what is mechanical advantage? Mechanical advantage is the ratio of load to overcome to the magnitude of the effort. That means the ratio of load to effort is called mechanical advantage. It is also called leverage. So mechanical advantage has such definition that it has no dimension and it is an unitless quantity. So mechanical advantage MA is equal to load L by effort E. Now we are going through the three conditions. When the effort is less than load, what actually happens? If E is less than L, then the mechanical advantage will be greater than 1. That means the machine acts as a force multiplier. The condition 2, when the E is more than L. On that case, the machine acts as a speed multiplier because the mechanical advantage is less than 1. That is very important. And the third point is, if E equal to L, then the mechanical advantage becomes 1. That means there is no force multiplication, there is no speed multiplication. It's just change the direction of effort. So these three criteria, these three conditions are applied in case of mechanical advantage by machine. A mechanical advantage is also very important parameter to define the efficiency of the machine. A mechanical advantage also very important to know about the machine. A machine having a mechanical advantage greater than 1 acts as a force multiplier. That means E is greater than L. While a machine having the mechanical advantage less than 1, that means E is less than L. Greater than L. It gives the gain in speed. And if the mechanical advantage equals to 1, it is generally used to change the direction of effort as there is no gain in force or speed. Mind it, a machine cannot be used as a force multiplier as well as speed multiplier simultaneously. That is very important, that a machine simultaneously can't show the function of speed multiplier as well as force multiplier. So on that case, we know about some terminology, and by using that terminology we define the mechanical advantages of machine. Next we discuss about the velocity ratio, which is also very important to express the velocity ratio. The ratio of a distance travelled by the effort to the distance travelled by the load in a given time is called the velocity ratio. Or we can say the ratio of the velocity of effort to the velocity of load. So VR is equal to velocity of effort by velocity of load. Now it is also a unitless and dimensionless quantity like mechanical advantage, as because this is the ratio between the velocity of effort by velocity of load. Suppose dl and d, the distance moved in a time t by load and effort. That means we applied a effort on the pedal of the cycle, and the load, that means the cycle moved a distance. So if the pedal moved some distance d, the load travel the distance dl. So on that case, the velocity of effort v is equal to d by t, and the velocity of load is dl, that is dl by t. So the velocity of ratio, that means velocity ratio here is equal to d by dl, that is d by t by dl by t, and final d by dl. D, that means the distance travelled by effort, that is s, and dl is the distance travelled by load, that is L. The VR is the ratio of displacement of effort to the displacement of load. So we find the two important parameters. One is mechanical advantage and another is velocity ratio. In velocity ratio, we also face three type of conditions. One, when d is greater than dl, that means s is greater than l. Here the Vr will be the greater than 1. That means machine act as a force multiplier. Similarly, when d less than dl, that means s is less than l, the Vr is less than 1. That means machine gives gain in speed. That means machine act as a speed multiplier. And when dl equals to d, that means s equal to l, on that case Vr equals to 1. That means machine change the direction of effort. So a machine can be defined by velocity ratio and the mechanical advantage both. Velocity ratio is also defined as a ratio of displacement of effort to the displacement of load. So here we find the special two type of parameters, and that two type of parameters, one is velocity ratio, another is mechanical advantage. By using mechanical advantage and velocity ratio, we can find the efficiency of the machine, and that one I will try to give you the details. Efficiency, the ratio of the useful work output to the actual work input of the machine is called efficiency. So whenever we want to calculate the efficiency of the machine, before that we have to know the work input and the work output. What is work input? Work input is the work done on the machine by the effort is called the work input. The energy supplied to the machine is called the work input, or the amount of work done on the machine by the effort is called the work input. So we can say the work input is equal to work done by the effort, that means force into displacement, work done, that means E into D. E is the amount of force as the effort, and D the displacement of the effort. In case of work output, what we find? The work output is the work done by the machine on the load. The work done by the machine on the load is called work output. Here work output W equals to work done on the load, that means the load L multiplied by the distance traveled by the load. So L multiplied by DI. And now whenever we define the efficiency, the ratio of work output by work input. The efficiency of the machine is the ratio of work done on the load by the machine to the work done on the machine by the effort. The ratio of useful work output to the actual work input of the machine is called efficiency. So whenever we define the efficiency of the machine, we use the percentage of efficiency. That means if the efficiency is expressed in terms of eta, then eta is equal to work output by work input into 100%. Now the 100% of efficiency of a machine is quite impossible due to frictional force and the weight of the moving parts of the machine. The velocity ratio does not change, but the mechanical advantage decreases, so the efficiency decreases. That means the 100% of efficiency is quite impossible for any machine. But for ideal condition, it is quite possible. Now, what is ideal machine? Ideal machine is a machine whose efficiency is 100%. That means there is no loss of energy in any manner. This is the concept of ideal machine. But the actual machine which we are actually applying is that the output energy is always less than input energy. That means there is some loss of energy in its operation, and the cause are due to frictional force. Springs are not purely elastic, and the different parts of the machines are not perfectly rigid. So these are the cause. That is why 100% of efficiency achievement is not possible by actual machine. Now we will go to the principle of lever. Before that, we will define the principle of machine. A machine produces force and control the direction and the motion of the force, but it cannot create energy. So machine's ability to do a work is means by two factors. One is mechanical advantage, another is efficiency. The point at which the energy supplied to the machine by applying the effort is called the effort point, and the point where the energy is obtained by overcoming the load is called the load point. So before we define the principle of machine, we have to know the two important points. One is called effort point, another is called load point. So effort point is where the effort is applied, and the load point is the point where the force is obtained to overcome the load. So input energy is equal to work done at the effort point. That means the amount of force applied, that is effort, multiplied by the distance traveled due to effort, that is E into D. Similarly, the output energy is equal to work done or work obtained at the load point, and that is L into DL. Now for ideal machine, the output energy is equal to input energy. This is the principle of machine for ideal machine. But for actual machine, the output energy is much less than input energy. But if the reverse is happening, that means the output energy is more than input energy, then it is purely a violation of principle of conservation of energy. Thus, the efficiency of the machine theoretically possible 100%, but not more than 100%, but actually the efficiency of the machine is less than 100%. And we already explained why the efficiency is less than 100%, because due to frictional force, due to the moving parts of the machine. So this makes the efficiency less than actual efficiency. So if a machine is an 80% efficient, so what is its meaning? It implies that 80% of total energy supplied to the machine at a effort point is obtained as a useful energy at the load point. Very important discussion here. The 80% of efficiency means the amount of total energy spent to find out the 80% of the work of the machine. So 80% of efficiency means it implies that 80% of the total energy supplied to the machine at a effort point is obtained as a useful energy at the load point. The remaining 20% energy supplied is lost to overcoming the force of friction. It appears as a heat energy in a different parts, due to which they get heat out. So machine become heated or become hot by frictional forces, and that 20% is expense on that case. Now the relationship between the efficiency eta, the mechanical advantage Ma, and the velocity ratio. Here we can find the relationship. The relationship is that the efficiency is equal to work output by work input, whereas the work output is equal to load into distance traveled due to load, and work input is equal to effort into distance traveled to apply effort. So efficiency is equal to L into dl by E into d, that means L by E into dl by d, and we know that L by E is the mechanical advantage. So mechanical advantage by 1 by d by dl, and again we know the distance due to effort by the distance due to load, that ratio is also the VR. So we can say efficiency is equal to mechanical advantage by velocity ratio. That means mechanical advantage is equal to efficiency eta into velocity ratio. The mechanical advantage of the machine is equal to the product of efficiency and velocity ratio. Ma is equal to eta into VR. For ideal machine, the work output is equal to work input. That means the velocity ratio is equal to mechanical advantage, and eta become 1 or 100%. For ideal machine, mechanical advantage is numerically equal to the velocity ratio. But for actual machine, the work output is always less than work input. So eta is, that means efficiency always less than 1. That means mechanical advantage numerically less than the velocity ratio. Due to some loss of input energy, again the force of friction, the actual machine doesn't provide us the 100% efficiency. So these are the basic relationship between the efficiency, the mechanical advantage, and the velocity ratio. The velocity ratio and the mechanical advantage are interconnected to define the efficiency. The efficiency eta is equal to mechanical advantage by velocity ratio, or we can say mechanical advantage is equal to efficiency into velocity ratio. So we already know some terminology, that is the load, that is the effort, the mechanical advantage, and the velocity ratio. So these are some example of the terminology, and these are very basic knowledge about the machine. Now what is the example of the machine? Let's go through that document. The most common example of the machine is lever. The simple machine can be broadly classified into two categories. One is lever, another is inclined plane. So machine is lever and inclined plane. And in lever, we will get pulley and wheel and axle. And in inclined plane, we get wedge and screw. A lever is a rod which moves freely about a fixed point, and that point is called fulcrum. So lever are the simplest kind of the machine used in our daily life. A lever is a rigid, straight or bent bar which is capable to turning about a fixed axis. That fixed axis is called fulcrum. The fulcrum is very important part of the lever. So by introducing the fulcrum, we define the lever in three categories. Lever 1, that is class 1 category, the class 2 category, and class 3 category. So what is fulcrum? I again define you. fulcrum is a point, is a fixed axis on which the lever turn process, that is called fulcrum. So a lever is a rod which moves freely about a fixed point, and that point is called the fulcrum. Now let us see the different types of levers. For class 1 lever, what we get, the effort and load is the two end point and the fulcrum is in between them. Fulcrum is in between the effort and lever. For example, the seesaw, the children regularly playing at ground, and also the scissor is the example of the class 1 lever. Crowbar is also the example of the class 1 lever. For class 1 lever, the mechanical advantage and wear can have the any value. That means mechanical advantage greater than 1 or equal to 1 or less than 1. When the fulcrum is in between the effort and load, and the effort arm, this is the effort arm, that means the distance between the effort point to fulcrum, and this is the load arm, the distance between the load point to fulcrum. When effort arm is larger than load arm, on that case both mechanical advantage and velocity ratio greater than 1, and on that case machine acts as a force multiplier. That means enable us to overcome a large resistive load force by a small amount of effort. For example, the crowbar. Let us see about the crowbar. Here the crowbar, I am finding background. Here the fulcrum point is here, and this is the effort arm, and that one is the load arm. So by applying a small force in effort point, we can easily plug the pin from a wooden block. So lever is a simple machine. It consists of a rigid bar which is capable for turning around a pivot, and which is also called the fulcrum. Generally we used a rod which can be rotated freely about the fulcrum. So on that point, that rod is moved freely. Now these are the example of class 1 lever where the mechanical advantage and wear both is greater than 1. When both arms, that means the load and the effort arm is equal. So on that case mechanical advantage and velocity ratio is 1. For example, the physical balance. In physical balance both arm is same. So this is the class 1 lever physical balance, but the effort arm equal to load arm. Now the third one is when effort arm is less than load arm or shorter than load arm. On that case mechanical advantage and velocity ratio both less than equal to 1. As DL is greater than DE, such levers are used to obtain the gain in speed. For example, scissor, whose blades are longer than the handles, and also the long handle oar. This is also the example of class 1 lever of type 3. That means the effort arm is less than the load arm. So we find the class 1, we define the class 1 levers, and in class 1 levers we find the different types of mechanical advantage and velocity ratios value. Effort arm greater than load arm, the fulcrum is in between them, then it acts as a force multiplier. When the effort arm equals to load arm, the physical balance, mechanical advantage and here both is equal to 1, and effort arm is less than the load arm, the third one, it's a machine act as a speed multiplier, and in such a case the VR and MA, that means the mechanical advantage and velocity ratio, both are less than 1. So the scissor is the example of class 1 lever whose effort arm, that is the handle, are less than the load arm, that is the blades. So this is about the class 1 lever. Now we will go to the class 2 lever. Class 2 lever, or the second order lever, load is situated between the fulcrum and the efforts, just like a mango cutter, wheel blower, nut cutter. Here the both load and effort in one side and fulcrum is just the end of the bar or lever. For example, wheel blower or bar to lift the load are the example of class 3 lever. Force applied in the effort point and the load is in between the fulcrum and effort point. Load L is somewhere in between the effort and fulcrum, and both effort point and load point are in same side but opposite direction. Here when the effort arm is much greater than the load arm, what happens? The mechanical advantage greater than 1, and on that case the VR is also greater than 1 as per the ideal machine. Thus mechanical advantage and velocity ratio of class 2 lever are always more than 1. Thus class 2 levers act as a force multiplier, that is less effort is needed for overcome a large load. For example, nut cutter or wheel blower. I want to show you the wheel blower, just a minute. Where the wheel blower? That one. Wheel borrow. This is the wheelbarrow is the example of class 2 lever where the fulcrum is here and the load is here and the effort is here, and it acts as a force multiplier. Similarly, the nut cracker also is a class 2 lever whose effort arm is much longer than the load arm. Okay, so this is about the class 2 lever. So class 2 lever always act as a force multiplier. And now we will go to the class 3 lever. Class 3 lever, the concept is little bit different. How? The both load and effort are same side, but effort is in between the fulcrum and load. Effort arm and load arm, effort arm always less than load arm. So in that case, mechanical advantage and velocity ratio less than 1. The mechanical advantage and velocity ratio of a class 3 levers are always less than 1. So we get the gain in speed, or that means the lever of third order or class 3 lever always act as a speed multiplier, as longer displacement of the load is obtained by smallest displacement of effort. For example, the blade of a knife moves longer by the small displacement of the handle, or the short handle oar is also helps to move the boat faster because it acts as a speed multiplier. So this is the third category of lever, and that lever is also defined here. We try to define the third one. This is the first one example. The second one I already defined, and the lever of third order. When the fulcrum and the load is situated at the opposite end of the lever and an effort is applied somewhere between them, we call it as a lever of third order. For example, a pair of tongs or fishing rod, etc. So fishing rod is also the example of the third category of or third class 3 lever, and the rising of a load by hand is also example of the class 3 levers. So these are about the levers, and in levers we have to know about the actual values of mechanical advantage, efficiency. The arms are very important, the effort arm and the load arm. So there is, again I repeat that there is a 3 types of lever: class 1, class 2 and class 3. In class 1, the fulcrum is in between the effort and load. In class 2, the fulcrum is just end point and the effort and load in another point, but load always in between the effort and fulcrum. And in class 3, the fulcrum is end point, but effort is in between the load and fulcrum. So this is all about the lever. After studying the lever, we have to go about the next process about the wheels. So next classes, that means about pulley, I will give you the details about the pulley. Whenever we complete the sums or numerical activities of the physics, then it will be very clear for us. Though the theory is important to understand, but we have to do more and more numerical numerical problem solving method to understand this machine details easily. So machine is not a simple tools. It is act as a force multiplier. It is act as a speed multiplier. We can change the direction of efforts applied. We can change the direction of load where we got the actual result, and that result of the force is used to uplift to overcome the load. So these are all about the machine, and next day I will discuss about the wheels. Thank you for if you have any doubt or any questions regarding the machines, so please write down me or please call me to my number. My number is 7001 922 641. Thank you.